Hey all, this is Redditosker. The Elden Ring DLC is coming in 2 weeks from the time of recording, and for me, the wait is becoming unbearable. And it surely is even worse for people that abstained from looking at the previews in an effort to go completely blind and are now having their willpower tested.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it.
So I've decided to release a series of short, spoiler-free videos every day leading up to Shadow of the Erdtree. The topics will be mostly Elden Ring related, but there might be some other games I talk about, things that I discuss on my channel. And in this way I can mark time for myself and provide spoiler-free daily content for other people, and maybe make the wait a little easier for them. Which brings me to today's topic, the size of the DLC. I think at this point most people are aware and believe that the DLC is going to be massive. But I still see people in my comment sections and online scoff at the idea that this DLC is only the size of a Limgrave. And they're appalled at the $40 price tag, exclaiming that that's more than half the price of the game. And I want to clear things up and reassure the people that are having that difficulty with the DLC. First of all, I don't think people fully appreciate how large Limgrave actually is. Limgrave extends to East Limgrave, West Limgrave, and all of the Weeping Peninsula. All of those areas combined make up Limgrave. I get the feeling that when people think of Limgrave, they're only thinking of the starting area, maybe the path leading up to Stormvale, the lake, the little area around the lake, and then it ends at the Weeping Peninsula and it ends before you get into the forest. But that's not the case. All of those areas, including the forest and the peninsula, are in Limgrave. You can tell that because when you go to the Sites of Grace, the map lists all of that as Limgrave. Well, maybe you're still not convinced after hearing that, because, after all, you are kind of remembering how long it took you to get through all of those areas, and you're like, that's not enough for a $40 DLC. But here's the other thing. You can pack a lot of stuff into that space. I think that people can all agree that Stormvale is among the best legacy dungeons. It's dense, it's very vertical, it's large. You can fit a lot of Stormvales into Limgrave. You take a Stormvale and you put something of relatively equal size, copy and paste them across the area, and you can fit a whole lot of them. You can fit 15 or 20 suckers in that space. And in fact, we know that the DLC intends to pack things more densely. In interviews, Miyazaki has talked about how the map would be more dense. The ratio of a legacy dungeon to open field areas would be changed to favor legacy dungeons, and that the space between the legacy dungeon and the open field would intertwine better, so that the contrast between them isn't quite so stark. And from listening to the impressions of people from the previews, that seems to be the case. They are fitting legacy dungeons in a relatively small area. We also now know that there are at least 10 Remembrance bosses. They had previously told us that there were going to be 10 bosses, but now we know that these are major, main, Remembrance-style bosses, which is astonishing since the base game had only 15. We also know that the DLC is adding 30 new soundtracks. And again, that's surprising because the base game has 67 songs. The only way to interpret that fact is that this DLC has enough stuff to warrant that many songs. In his most recent interview, Miyazaki said the following about the DLC. One of the things that was determined very early on was the size. We wanted that sense of scale for this map, because we wanted an experience for the players that was going to match that of the base game. We wanted them to experience that sense of discovery, that sense of wonder, and exploration again. We needed a map that was going to uphold that and bolster that. End quote. So, Miyazaki is saying the central contrivance, one of the big points of Elden Ring, was its size. How big it was, and you being amazed every time you discovered that you didn't really understand how big this map was. My favorite moment of that kind was when I went to the Shifro River well, went down, and you realize, oh my goodness, there's an entire underground section. And in that point, you don't know how big that section is, you don't know how long it extends. It could be the entire underground of the map for all you know. Elden Ring is about subverting your understanding of its scale. And Miyazaki is saying here, we need to be able to do that again, in a different way. And to do that, we needed it to be big. And let me just point out here, he means it. Miyazaki is known for downplaying things. He doesn't talk things up. Famously, before Elden Ring came out, he said that it would take 30 hours to beat it, which is a shocking lie. So if he's over here in interviews talking about how big it is, you can rest assured, it's gonna be big, big. This is what we're gonna get in lieu of Elden Ring 2, and I am very, very excited. Anyway, that's the end of this video. As always, thank you very much for watching.